welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be recapping the game that happened between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Now you may be asking yourself, why are you recapping these two teams playing against each other? Well, last night was the last game of the NHL season, playoffs and regular season, because the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup final in 6 games. And this game was a little bit lopsided if you look at the scoreboard, because total score was 5-1. 5 for Florida, 1 for Edmonton. And for the whole game, it didn't seem like Edmonton had it in them to make the series look like it's going to go to 7. So, what happened in this game? Well, I'm going to go through all the scoring, and then we're going to touch up on some off-season stuff for these teams and the fallout of this game and all that kind of fun stuff. So, start in the first period, where Edmonton came out looking strong. They were forechecking, they had pressure, they were getting shots. And then the theme in this whole series has been Florida scores once, Edmonton is screwed. So Florida scores in pretty rough fashion for the Edmonton Oilers. So 4.5 minutes in, Reinhart puts the puck in the back of the net. And want to know how this all happens? Evan Bouchard pulls an Evan Bouchard at their own blue line and fumbles a pass that Ekholm, and I will kind of give it to Evan Bouchard a little bit, because that was a terrible pass by Ekholm, right, not even on the ice, right into the chest. It was like he was shooting the puck at a goalie. And so Bouchard fumbles the puck, Reinhart pounces on the fumbling and goes in and shoots and scores, and it was in tight, so there's nothing, there is something that Stuart Skinner could have done, but at the same time, your defensemen have to be defensemen. So, yeah, first goal, not a pretty one by any sort of metric for the Edmonton Oilers to give up, but they move on, because you never know, maybe they make things interesting. A little bit. Then to Chuck with 40 seconds left in the first period, scores, and this was him just kind of gathering the puck up at the point. He's not a defenseman, but sometimes that's how the rotation of stuff ends up. Chuck just takes a few little strides down, almost right into the slot area. Edmonton, nowhere to be seen. He's as free as a bird. And shoots, scores, and oh shoot, that's 2-0 going into the first intermission. In the second, didn't see a lot of things happen, except for the fact that Reinhart scores kind of controversially, because he was just kind of hanging out in the defensive zone, and or not in the defensive zone, in the offensive zone, because that's how you can score for it to count for yourself. Reinhart's just kind of in the crease. Barkov shoots a puck on net that hits Reinhart in the skate and goes in. So now there was a brief moment I'm like, are they going to challenge this for a kicking motion or it being kicked into the net? Reinhart was absolutely still, so there's no way that they would have been yeah, that was kicked in. All right, so first, second, and then down by 3 going into the third. Crazier things have happened in the third with the team being down 3-0. Or down by 3 goals. But Edmonton can't get anything going for them. And so they opt to pull Stuart Skinner with 7 minutes left in the first with an offensive face-off. Or not in the first, in the third. And my mind is like, what in Patrick Waugh is going on? Because I'm like, 7 minutes, that's a long time. And the Florida Panthers immediately pounce on the fact that there's no goalie in the net. And Reinhart gets the hat trick. So that is not ideal. And so, yeah, then they pull the goalie again. Reinhart scores again and becomes the first person since Rocket Richard himself, since Richard himself, score 4 goals in a Stanley Cup final game. I'm pretty sure that was what the stat is. If I'm wrong, I'll put the right thing up right here. Yeah, so 5-0, time's winding down, and then Puck Colson for Edmonton breaks the shutout, and so that's one thing for Edmonton to hang their hat on, is like, at least Bobrovsky didn't get a shutout, but it's all in vain, because yeah, that would be it. And the the Florida Panthers players, with like a minute left on the clock, half of them on the bench already had their helmets off, their gloves off, their stick nowhere to be seen. And yeah, and then as the time winds down, they all jump onto the ice. I'm like, they're jumping on a little prematurely, but that's all right, because at the end of the day, the Florida Panthers are your 2025 Stanley Cup champions. Back-to-back for Florida, and it looks like that the state of Florida itself has been running hockey for the last 5 years, so yeah, Canada's cup drought continues. McDavid is cupless again. Corey Perry loses his 5th straight Stanley Cup final, which, unfortunate for the man, but that's what you get for doing the stuff that you did in Chicago, in my opinion. So, yeah, that is the game. Now we look to the off-season. What does this mean for Florida and Edmonton? I'll do a whole off-season video later, just so this one doesn't go too long. 3 things of note. For this game, Oilers got exposed with just how physical they are. Like, Kane is physical, but he doesn't really have the scoring ability, and they couldn't win board battles to save their life. If you could notice throughout the whole series, or like near the end of the series more so, Edmonton was doing their best to keep that puck in the center of the ice, because they knew that as soon as that puck got towards the boards, they were screwed. So, yeah. Then for the Panthers, like the more off-season front, they have a bunch of free agents to deal with. They have Marchand, they have Bennett, I'm pretty sure Ekblad is in there. Bennett is probably most likely going to be coming back, and Ekblad should. Marchand, he's been taking pay cuts his whole career with Boston. He's bound to cash in on that. So this summer, expect him to get paid. And speaking of Sam Bennett, or that I brought him up, he's your Conn Smythe winner, playoff MVP. And for a guy who is known as a bruiser and will do anything to win. That is not shocking. I called it like right before the Conn Smythe was awarded. Me and my family went around of making predictions of who it was gonna be. I said Bennett. I got it right. So, yeah, Bennett is. There isn't a shocker on the point side. It's just like that's the type of player, a guy who will do anything to win, is getting the playoff MVP, which is how it's supposed to be. Most valuable player mainly is the guy who wants to win the most. So, yeah, that is the 2024-2025 season wrapped up. I don't know what I'm going to do for the next 3-4 months when there's no hockey on. So, well, I'll find a way to keep content coming out on here. There'll be news in juniors and PWHL. Vancouver signed a few more players I'll go over in another video. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. If you like this little recap, let me know, because I want to keep making more of these. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all the stuff. And I will see you in the next one.